I was staring at the divorce papers when she called, 4 days after she decided I didn't belong there anymore. Sloane's voice slid through the speaker like nothing happened. "Graham, have you learned your lesson yet?" That smug tone. Not even a fake apology, just pure arrogance. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I didn't answer right away. I looked at the laptop screen again. Bank transfers, vendor statements, and a nice little spreadsheet that said her brother Trevor had skimmed $2.4 million through 3 fake vendors over 21 months. I'd triple-checked the routing numbers. She kept talking. "Let's not drag this out. We can still handle this with class." I told her, "Why don't you come by the condo early? We'll talk like adults." That always worked with her. Phrases like adults, or "with class," made her feel like she was the measured one. She agreed, said she'd see me tomorrow around 8. After I hung up, I stared out the window. Denver's skyline looked sharper than usual, like it was leaning in on the glass. Right across from me, I could see the Mercer Atlas building, the one we leased together, the one I designed the floor plan for, the one she now ran like a throne room. The place felt colder, smaller. Moose, my old lab, sat by the kitchen table with his chin on his paws. He lifted his head when I walked by, tail thumping once. "Good boy," I said, rubbing behind his ears. He didn't wag again. He knew something was off. I opened the folder again. Divorce packet, signed by her lawyer. She wanted full ownership of the company, our house in Cherry Creek. Even Moose, technically. His adoption form had her name on it. Bold. I pulled up the files, vendor creation docs from Delaware, shell addresses, the remittance accounts. Clean, quiet theft, but not quiet enough. Then came the footage. Trevor in my office at 11:28 p.m., 2 nights before they canned me. He plugged in a USB drive, copied what he needed, and left, smiling. "You wanted a lesson?" I said under my breath. "You're about to get one." I ground the fancy Guatemalan beans she always swore she could taste blind. Set the table. 2 glasses, rye whiskey, the kind I kept for real wins. The calendar ping replayed in my head at 9:01 a.m. sharp. Performance review, mandatory, 9:10 a.m. 9 minutes notice from a woman who used to whisper marketing strategy into my ear at midnight. Sloane and I shared a bed, a title, and the damn lease on the building. No heads up, no "can we talk?" Just a corporate gut punch with a timestamp. I walked down the hallway, coffee still in hand, and past 3 people who didn't even blink. My name was still on the wall behind reception. I'd carved it into this place, bled for it, and they knew. The glass-walled conference room was set to opaque. Classic Sloane move. Privacy by default, drama by design. I stepped inside. She was at the head of the table, blazer perfect. One manicured hand on a thin manila folder. Trevor sat to her right, arms crossed, face smug. "Graham," she said, like we hadn't had dinner together Friday night. "Thanks for coming." "Didn't think I had a choice," I said, setting down my mug. Trevor jumped right in. "We've been reviewing discretionary spend approvals. Some irregularities came up." I leaned forward. "Which ones?" "The March client dinner at Tall Pine," he said, flipping the folder open like it was scripted. "The Skyver license renewal, and the Summit Path conference travel. All 3 were clean, cleared with procurement, logged in the system." "You mean the dinner Sloane told me to host? The license your team requested? And the conference she was too busy to book herself?" Sloane didn't blink. "This isn't personal, Graham. The board raised concerns." Bull. I'd spoken with Allison Park, our most senior director, at a fundraiser 10 days ago. She was all smiles and future plans. No hint of trouble. Then I heard the shuffle behind me. Luis and Deshawn, security, both in polo shirts, both looking anywhere but at me. "You serious?" I said. "We need your badge, laptop, and office keys," Sloane said, flat. "We'll have your personal items couriered. I'll pack them myself." She gave a small nod, and they let me walk. I could feel eyes on me through glass walls as I went back to my office. My name still stenciled on the frosted panel. I opened my drawer, pulled out the essentials. 4 years of sweat boiled down to 1 cardboard box. Nadia, our receptionist, was the only one who looked up as I passed. Her eyes filled, and she whispered, "I'm so sorry." I nodded, jaw tight. If I opened my mouth, I was gonna roar. The hallway to the elevators felt longer than it ever had. I walked it like it was a funeral march, slow and steady, every step drilling in the reality. Trevor followed me out. Of course he did. He couldn't resist. "Tough quarter, Graham," he said, with that oily little smile he'd mastered in sales. I turned to him. "You're making a mistake." He didn't flinch, not even a twitch, just adjusted his cufflinks and walked away like he'd just won something. I stepped into the elevator. Door slid shut. By the time the elevator hit the lobby, I knew I wasn't going to sleep. That night turned into the next day. I crashed on the couch in my condo, suit still on, tie half undone. Moose laid across my feet like he was holding me in place. At 4:15 a.m., I woke up gasping, chest tight, like the room was pressing in. Moose shifted, breathed hard through his nose. I didn't pet him. I just sat up and started dialing. Ed Barlow picked up on the second ring. "Jesus, Graham, it's 4 in the morning," he said, groggy but not angry. "I need help," I said. "Real help." "Say less. What happened?" I gave him the short version. He didn't pause. "Send everything. All vendor payables, ACH logs, approval chains. We'll follow the money." I was already pulling files while we talked. Every invoice, every approval. Thank God I kept local backups. Next was Cara Mendoza. Emma had introduced us months back, said she was tough, no bullshit. She answered on the 4th ring. "You better be bleeding," she said. "They fired me. No vote, no warning, claimed spend abuse." "Who's they?" "My wife, her brother, same board I helped build." She went quiet. Then, "If they tossed you without board procedure, we're not just divorcing, we're cleaning house." By 6 a.m., I had coffee going and 4 screens up. 1 monitor for Ed, 1 for Cara, 1 for public records, and 1 for email. Moose paced, ears twitching every time I muttered. First red flag hit fast. 3 vendors, North Star Advisory, Kelton Ridge Partners, and Tectra Insight. All 3 formed within a 2-month window. All 3 listed the same registered agent in Delaware. I checked remittance accounts. They rotated every quarter. New numbers, same end destination. North Star pulled $62,500 a month. Kelton Ridge matched it. Tectra billed $125,000 quarterly. Generic descriptions. Consulting, market analysis, ops strategy. None of them matched real deliverables. No decks, no reports, no meeting logs. I called Cara. "This is a skimming operation. Quiet, steady, and designed to blend in." She brought in a PEI, said he was the kind of guy who could find a fingerprint on a handshake. He pulled Mercer's internal camera logs. 48 hours later, I had a clip in my inbox. Cara called again. "We've got enough to blow this up. You sure you want to?" I looked around. Empty condo. Divorce papers still on the counter. Company gone. "Yeah," I said. "Light the match." I went back through my inbox and found an email from a few months ago. Lena Duarte, investigative reporter. I had ignored her when things were good. Her subject line was still there. Tip line, Mercer Atlas? I replied, no subject. Just 1 sentence. "You want a story about how image gets used to hide theft? Bring a notebook." She showed up 15 minutes early, like she thought I might flinch if she caught me off guard. The blazer looked expensive enough to have its own security detail. Deep navy with a shoulder line sharp enough to cut glass. She walked in like she still owned the place. Moose got up, wagged once, then sat down again. She didn't even look at him. "Graham," she said, like she was addressing a crowd. "You ready to be reasonable?" I nodded, not smiling. "Coffee?" She followed me to the kitchen. I poured it into the ceramic mug we picked up in Santa Fe on our 10th anniversary trip. The one with the blue swirl and chipped rim. She took it like she was accepting an award. "This doesn't have to get ugly," she said, walking back into the living room. "We can outline transition plans, talk timing, public messaging." I cut her off. "Give me a minute." I stepped into the bedroom and shut the door, took a breath. Changed into the charcoal suit I wore on our Series B roadshow, the one that convinced Redwood Ridge to wire $7 million with a handshake. I looked in the mirror, no anger on my face, just focus. When I came back, she was on my leather chair, legs crossed, scrolling through emails like this was her office. I set everything on the table in front of her. First, the divorce packet. Second, Ed's forensic summary in a neat blue folder. Third, 2 glasses in the rye I only opened for serious moments. She raised an eyebrow. "You dressing up to serve drinks now?" I poured 2 fingers into each glass. Didn't answer. Just open the folder. North Star Advisory formed 21 months ago, I said. Kelton Ridge Partners, 4 weeks after that. Tectra Insight came in third. She blinked but said nothing. Same registered agent, same lawyer, same mailbox in Wilmington, rotating remittance accounts to make it harder to spot. I slid the signature cards toward her. And Trevor's handwriting. 3 different banks, neat and consistent. Her eyes narrowed, but her mouth didn't move. Then I opened my laptop and hit play. Trevor, in my office. 11:28 p.m. Lights off. Jacket on the back of my chair. He sat, plugged in a USB, and started moving files. 46 minutes, 2 pauses, no sound but the hum of the monitors. I paused the video on the frame where the USB drive caught the desk lamp just enough to reflect. She stared at it. Nothing. No defense. No pivot. First time she'd been quiet in over a year. You fired me over $7,900 of fully approved expenses, I said, while your brother ran a $2.4 million siphon through fake vendors and framed me to clear the path. She opened her mouth, closed it, then reached for her phone. I shook my head. Before you call him, read the front page. She looked down. Divorce papers, the real ones, amended with cause, prepped by Kara, attached to a formal complaint, plus a statement of intent to seek recovery of damages. She picked them up like they were coated in something toxic. Her hand shook. This won't stick, she said, weak. There's nuance. Sure, I said, and a camera in my office, and forensic accounting, and SEC disclosure obligations that your board missed. She stood up fast, her eyes still untouched. Her eyes bounced around the room like she was looking for something to anchor to. This isn't how it ends, she said. You ended it, I said. I'm just making it accurate. She moved to the door, but Moose was already standing in front of it. He didn't growl, just blocked her, like he knew, like he remembered who stayed and who lied. She paused, then stepped around him. Didn't say goodbye, didn't slam the door, just walked out. I waited until the elevator beeped before I drained my glass. By dawn, it was everywhere. Gaslight and grift at Mercer Atlas Systems. Husband co-founder pushed out his brother-in-law, skims millions. Kara had pushed hard for co-founder in the headline. She was right. It set the tone before the first paragraph. Lena Duarte didn't hold back. 6 minutes into reading it, I got a chill down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold coffee in my hand. I was on the worn leather couch in Kara's office, Moose under the table, snoring like he'd earned it. At 8:30 a.m., the emergency board session went live. Allison Park opened the call. Rafael Torres sat beside her, arms crossed, face stone. For full transparency, Allison said, this session will be streamed to internal staff. They weren't playing around. Trevor sat at the far end of the boardroom table, pale, blinking like the lights were too bright. Sloan was beside him, lips pressed flat, that blazer still doing heavy lifting. Allison started with the basics. We've requested vendor contracts and supporting documentation for North Star Advisory, Kelton Ridge Partners, and Tectra Insight. Mr. Kendrick, do you have them? Trevor cleared his throat. We're still compiling. Raphael cut him off. We've already reviewed the bank records. Wire transfers were made without board review, against policy. Sloan leaned in, tried her move. This isn't about wrongdoing. This is about optics. We needed strategic support. Allison turned her head just enough. We've also reviewed internal HR complaints, 23 in 6 months. Patterns of retaliation, credit stealing, and late-night access. Sloan froze. You could see it hit her in the eyes. Why didn't any of those complaints reach the board? Allison asked. Sloan opened her mouth, closed it. No one bailed her out. Then, at 11:12 a.m., the door opened behind them. 2 men in plain suits stepped in, badges out. You could hear the room inhale. Trevor tried to speak, but they were already guiding him up, cuffed him without fanfare, jaw slack, shoulders tight. That $5,000 suit suddenly looked like it didn't belong to him anymore. He looked at Sloan like she might say something to stop it. She didn't. Then one of the agents turned to her. Sloan Caldwell, you're being placed on administrative suspension pending investigation into breach of governance obligations. They didn't cuff her, just made it clear she was done. The stream cut, just like that. My phone lit up, board members, former colleagues, some apologies, some total silence, and one text from Nadia. About time. At 9 a.m., my mom was already stirring a pot of chili like it was any normal Sunday and not the week her son's name had been dragged through national tech news. "You can starve yourself later," she said. "Eat now." I sat at her kitchen table in Littleton, same one I'd carved my initials into as a kid. Moose was stretched under my chair, tail thumping slow. Mom didn't ask questions. She just set a bowl down and said, "You still like cheddar on top? Or did Sloan talk you out of that too?" I played the voicemails on speaker. Sloan had left 4. First one was cold. "We need to talk. This is bigger than you." Second one had edge. "Graham, don't be rash. We can still handle this privately." Third was shaking. "Please, call me. I didn't know about all of it." The last one? Soft. "I love you. Please call me. I don't know what to do." Mom didn't even blink. "Notice," she said. "She's sorry about the mess, not about what she did to you." I didn't argue. Couldn't. Phone buzzed again. Trevor, County Holding. I answered just to hear what rock bottom sounded like. "I can bury her if you help me," he said within 30 seconds. Emails, DocuSign logs. She was in deeper than I ever was. I hung up. He called back. Twice. Blocked the number. Later that afternoon, Redwood Ridge Capital reached out. Harriet Cole asked if I could meet. She didn't say where. We both knew it'd be quiet. I chose a private conference room at Kara's building. She came in fast, folder in hand. Noah Patel followed, laptop already open. Harriet started with no small talk. "We yanked our 9.2 million Series C this morning. We don't back rot, but we do back clarity." She slid the folder across. Inside, term sheet, seed agreement, draft branding deck. "Northline Integrity Partners," she said, "specializing in vendor audits, internal controls, crisis turnarounds, real backbone work. We'll seed 2.6, give you office space on 17th, and put you in front of 3 enterprise clients by February." I flipped the folder shut. "Why trust me?" Noah answered without hesitation. "Because you spotted the fire while you were getting blamed for the smoke." I nodded just once. Didn't shake yet. That came later. 6 weeks later, I sat second row behind the rail in federal court, hands folded tight, tie slightly crooked. Reporters lined the back, scribbling nonstop. A few former co-workers sat 3 rows ahead and did their best not to glance back at me. The ones who used to nod in meetings now stared at the floor like I was a ghost. Moose was with Emma for the day. Court didn't allow dogs, even good ones. Felt strange not having him next to me. Trevor walked in wearing the same smirk he'd always used when trying to bluff through a sales call. But this wasn't a pitch meeting. His lawyer leaned in, whispered something, and Trevor nodded like it mattered. Judge Bernadine Krause didn't waste time. "Mr. Kendrick, you've pled guilty to wire fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy to commit financial crimes. Do you understand the severity?" Trevor stood, hands behind his back. "I do, Your Honor. I made some mistakes." She cut him off. "You stole by design. You took money with intention and violated the trust of your investors, your board, and your clients. This was not a mistake. It was a method." You could hear the click of a reporter's pen stop. She handed him 58 months in federal prison, 3 years supervised release after that, restitution, and a permanent ban from holding fiduciary or executive roles. He barely reacted, just swallowed once and looked straight ahead. Then it was Sloane's turn. Her blazer wasn't navy this time. It was beige, soft, like she was trying to look smaller. Didn't help. Judge Krause flipped through her notes and sighed. "Ms. Caldwell, your plea covers negligent oversight and unauthorized termination of a corporate officer without board approval. You ran governance like a private vendetta." Sloane kept her eyes down. "This was ego dressed as governance," the judge said, "and it undermined everything a board is supposed to stand for. 2 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and barred from holding executive roles at public companies. No fine, no jail, but the stain would follow her." As the marshal stepped toward Trevor, he turned and tried to catch my eye. I stared right past him. Like looking through cheap glass, warped, flawed, easy to ignore. Outside, microphones waited. One reporter stepped in with a recorder. "Do you feel vindicated?" I paused, thought about it. "I feel ready to work." Even surprised myself with that one. Kara smiled beside me, then squeezed my shoulder. "You got your name back," she said. "Now, go build something with it." 3 weeks after the sentencing, I walked into the building I used to co-own with a check and a plan. Redwood seed money cleared, and I bought a controlling stake in Mercer Atlas at a fire sale price. Stock had dropped to 11% of peak value. The vultures thought they were watching a carcass. They weren't. First move, new name. Northline Integrity Partners. Second, cut dead weight. 71 people stayed, the ones who actually did the work. 18 quit in one afternoon, most without saying a word. Good, I didn't chase them. We ripped down the frosted glass walls, opened the floor, got rid of that dumb vinyl quote Sloan picked out. Move fast, break things. We replaced it with a simple oak plaque near reception. Burned letters, clean grain. If you can't prove it, don't pay it. Nadia stepped in as office manager. I didn't even have to ask. She just showed up, sleeves rolled, already assigning key cards. Mira from accounting, controller. Girl knew our books better than anyone. Colton from ops took over risk analytics. He'd spotted 2 ghost vendors a year ago, flagged them, and got ignored. Not anymore. I promoted based on what people did, not who they charmed or golfed with. I made that clear from day one. First 3 clients came fast. Harriet and Noah delivered like they said they would. A medical device firm, bleeding money through fake market research fees. We traced it to a VP's brother-in-law. Fired, fixed. A freight company using ghost carriers. 27 invoices tied to trucks that didn't exist. Busted it open. And a school district that hadn't balanced their cafeteria vendor books in 3 fiscal years. We gave them clarity in 2 weeks. We found the leaks, plugged them. Didn't smile about it, just did the job. At night, I walked Moose around Sloan's Lake. Same loop every evening. He'd sniff every post like it was his first time. Tail wagging, ears twitching. Dog never held a grudge. Some nights, I thought about calling Sloan. Just once. Then I'd remember the look she gave me in my condo when I laid it all out. Proof, numbers, betrayal, and how she still reached for her phone instead of the truth. I kept walking. Looking back, I should have known. It was a barbecue 2 summers ago. She said the word optics 3 times in one conversation about potato salad and quarterly reports. About a year later, I was at a coffee shop on 15th, rain sliding down the windows in thin sheets. Moose parked beside my stool, eyeing the tip jar like it owed him something. I was halfway through an Americano when I heard it. Familiar tone, same cadence. Large drip, oat milk. I didn't have to turn. I knew the voice. Sloan. She looked smaller than I remembered. No blazer armor, just a black hoodie, jeans, and hair tied back like she'd run out of reasons to pretend. We made eye contact. No tension, no fireworks. Just 2 people who used to share keys. Graham, she said, voice low. I nodded once. Sloan. She glanced down at Moose, then back up. He still looks like he runs the show. He does. She waited a beat, then said, I heard about Northline's freight contract. Big win. Yeah, we're keeping busy. She wrapped both hands around her coffee like she needed the heat. I've been consulting for a few startups. Nothing major, early stage stuff. Good for you. She didn't apologize. I didn't ask. We both knew the page had already turned. She looked at the floor, then back up. What you built, that's what we should have built. I didn't hesitate. We didn't because one of us liked mirrors more than windows. She didn't flinch. Maybe she'd run out of flinches. I tossed my cup in the bin, clipped Moose's leash back on. She didn't try to stop me. We walked down the block. He pranced like always, ears perked, tail swinging, proud to sniff the same old lampposts like they were new again. By the time we got back to the office, the Tokyo call was in 10 minutes. Mira waved me in. Auditors from Osaka just joined. You ready? Yeah, I said, setting my coat on the rack. I looked out the window. Denver looked solid, gray sky, sharp lines, no spin. I thought about foundation. Trevor and Sloan tried to build with mirrors and family pull. They thought the image would hold. It cracked. I built with numbers, clear terms, plain speech. It holds, not flashy, just right. Moose thumped his tail against my chair like he agreed. I opened the deck, unmuted the mic, and got back to work.